Hey, Jay.
Hey.
We're going to talk about astrology again today.
Yes.
I'm really happy that the people like the astrology.
They always do.
So we're going to talk about Mercury and Venus today.
And I have set energetic
Thank you, because we're mentioning Mercury
guards around this podcast and the recording.
Yeah. Who knows what will happen?
Some slamming of walls.
I did close the window this time.
Yes.
If you listened to last week's episode, the birds were interrupted.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to just recap in case you are somehow entering the podcast for the first time here and you haven't listened to any previous episodes on natal charts and astrology that we've talked about.
It actually is our astrology episodes where people find us.
Yeah, which is
great. And then they go back.
Welcome.
Right. Yes.
So if you haven't, we're talking about kind of how they relate to your natal chart.
Yes.
How to sort of understand different aspects of astrology so that you can use your own natal chart and other people's to connect better with humans.
Right.
To understand yourself better.
Yes.
I mean, I'm always floored at the accuracy.
Always.
It's, like I said before, you think you're this mysterious human, and then you read your natal chart and you're like, oh,
right.
This computer just spit my personality out and described
it. Me for filth.
Exactly. So we're looking at these particular ones. So we've looked at the houses.
Go back and see that episode.
Yes. We've also looked at Mercury retrograde.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at retrogrades and eclipses in another episode.
Right.
So we're going to touch on Mercury retrograde, but we're not going to go super deep into it.
Right.
So go back and listen to that. Even if you already listened to it, refresh after you get a little dose of Mercury here.
Right.
Okay. That sounded like a poisoning, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. So we've also gone through all the houses. So I would suggest, if you haven't listened to that, to listen to that after. The order doesn't really matter. We're going to talk about houses, but we go more in depth into those and what they mean.
Yes.
Okay. So I should also say that when we're talking about the planets in astrology, we're also referring to celestial bodies that are not technically recognized as planets sometimes.
Oh, right.
Okay.
That's okay.
Because astrology and astronomy got in a fight a long time ago, and
it's like a turf war, right?
They got divorced.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't always get along with how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with Mercury.
Okay.
Now, like you said, you put some walls up because Mercury is the planet that controls communication.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're
not just talking communication, but microphones and recording devices.
And every time we talk about this bitch, she screws something up. So maybe calling her out will stop.
Or we spoke about before, that you call in Archangel Michael.
Yes, exactly. So we're trying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure something will happen, but you never know. Maybe because I'm saying it won't.
It's okay.
Okay. So here's just a summary of what Mercury rules.
Right.
Communication, logic, rationality, intellect, cleverness, memory, transportation.
Right.
Okay. That's a lot of things.
Also appliances.
Yes, because this is a little bit trippy, but bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is using electricity is using communication.
Right, exactly. No, I don't think that's very trippy. That makes sense.
Anything using Wi-Fi.
You're bringing one piece of information to this other to this other place.
Yes.
Right.
So you have to think of communication energetically to really grasp the concept. Mm-hmm. Yes, we get hung up on how when Mercury's in retrograde, people take stuff funny or with communication, or all of a sudden your appliance doesn't work and people are like, what? But it's just because all of those exchanges get a little topsy-turvy.
Right. Or contracts.
Contracts, yes, because those are communications, any kind of agreement, written or verbal or otherwise.
Right.
Okay. How you analyze, interpret, sort, and classify information, as well as how you exchange it. So here's where people miss a huge part of reading Mercury in their chart and understanding Mercury's effects on them. Mm-hmm. They're only thinking about how it could go wrong when they're talking to someone else, when they're exchanging information with someone else.
Right.
It also can get a little screwy in how you're taking it in.
Well, and what you're describing also sounds like executive functioning.
It's exactly executive functioning.
So, like, that doesn't have to do with anybody else. No. That's just how you're organizing and executing things in your own life.
And not only does your placement of Mercury in your chart speak to and give you an understanding of your own executive functioning, mm-hmm. but if you know that, plus you know what Mercury, the planet, is currently doing,
right,
and you combine that information,
right,
you're going to have a much easier time.
Yes.
I feel like if we could send kids to school every day with like a little Mercury report for the teacher, right. it would be a great idea.
Yeah.
I really do. I wish, and this is me like asking anyone out there who might be listening who could study this and like hit me up, I'll join the team. If we could study people's natal charts and like people's neurodiversity, mm-hmm. I feel like you would find so much valuable information.
I completely agree.
It's such a miss. It's like it's sitting right there.
It's right there, right?
And we're not doing it.
Right, or looking at like where your neurodiversity is and how it's impacted by, I mean, there's just a ton of overlap.
Yeah.
There's so much overlap.
There is. So how you sort information mm-hmm. in your mind, in your memory, in your energy field, in your being is also very connected to your clairs.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We have an episode on the clairs as well. If you don't know, those are your psychic senses.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So if you could, now listen, the way that Mercury is filing and taking in the information is ego.
Right.
But the way that you are initially absorbing the information is intuition.
Right.
So if you could, again, combine this information, you're going to understand yourself better.
Right.
So for me, my biggest one is clairvoyance.
Yep.
Right? And we'll get to this, but my Mercury's in Taurus.
Right.
The combination of how information is going to come in very visually and then how I'm going to sort it, which is also visually,
right,
is very important because now you could have this like little life hack for yourself. And
right.
you can look and go like, oh, I understand how I need to take this in to use it the best way.
Right.
And remember, it's not the way everybody else does.
No, exactly.
We talked about perspective last week.
Right. Everyone's is different.
Yeah. I mean, right. Even in the intuitive industry, you and I talk about this a lot, but like everything is very directed to like clairvoyance.
Yes.
So everything is explained in how to take in intuitive information as if you can see it.
Right.
Right. And mm-hmm. somebody like you who's claircognizant, you're understanding that. You have clairvoyance, but it's not the best way for you to operate.
No.
So we're just like missing all this like valuable stuff that
right.
could help us understand ourselves better.
Right.
How you recognize patterns. Mercury. Look at Mercury in your chart.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. How you think, write, and talk to yourself and to others.
Yep.
Okay. How you think is so valuable because I feel like there's been this sort of all of a sudden everyone realized something that, I don't know, I think I already knew, was that like not everybody has like a voice in their head. Not everybody
right.
sees stuff in there. I mean, that's just the clairs. So maybe that's why I had a heads up that that's what was going on.
Right, exactly.
But if you look at your Mercury in your chart, you're going to go, oh yeah, that is how I think.
Right.
It's not like your beliefs or like, your conditioning. It's just how you think because how you think is different than how the person next to you thinks.
Right. And it's coming in through your energetic body.
Yeah, and it's coming in differently than how it's coming in for someone else.
The person next to you, right.
I mean, How many times have you been somewhere and one person interpreted a situation one way and one another way?
A million times.
I mean, even sometimes just you can be trying to learn something or take in information and someone says the same thing in a slightly different way and it clicks for you.
Right.
That's because you think differently.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a miss there again that I think people don't realize. And like how often people are analyzing things and analyzing a room and analyzing energy and reading body language. This is all you're bringing in the information and filing it based on your Mercury sign.
Right. Yep.
I find it so fascinating.
Well, and think about how informative that is.
And think of
if you knew that about yourself.
Yeah.
How informative that is.
And you're literally using it every moment of the day. Like there isn't a heartbeat that you experience that you're not
taking in information.
Yes.
Right.
And so when I say like, what's your Mercury sign? Most people don't know.
Right.
And it's like interesting. Sometimes I try to guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's some fun facts. So Mercury, the planet Mercury, is named after the Roman god of communication, travel, and commerce.
Yes.
Also the god of war, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have at this point that maybe you're going to be like, this is a little left field, Heather.
A little stretch.
Bring it back.
All right.
But I actually think you might like it.
Let's see.
We didn't originally call Mercury.
What did we call it?
The Romans came in and said, we're taking all information and making it Roman and to go with our Roman mythology.
Yeah.
Like same as we didn't call the days of the week what we call them. Like
correct. Right.
This is all just like conquering, let's go take over this area in your culture. Bullshit.
Right.
Okay. We originally called this planet Nabu.
Okay.
Which was the god of wisdom, scribes, and literacy.
Perfect.
Okay. So communication had to do with wisdom.
Yes.
But then all of a sudden, as the patriarchy's dawning, we changed the name of the planet that rules communication to the god of war.
Gotcha.
And we all say that. We all think that.
Yeah.
We all, Mercury, god of war.
So that like words are war.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Is that too?
No,
it's
I don't think it's that much of a stretch.
Okay, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Things like that are what I think about in the middle of the night.
I know that. That can confirm. I know you do.
After I've run through all the conversations and I thought of the ways I could have done better in them. You know that, like when you self-edit way too late.
Hate it.
It's exhausting and pointless. Yeah.
Yep.
Then I move on.
I'm like thinking about so much more clever.
Oh my God.
10 hours later.
I'm like, if I could only go back. Like, if time travel got figured out, that's what I'd use it for. Okay. So, Mercury is ruled by the planets, by the signs Gemini and Virgo.
Okay.
So, I guess technically the way that you say it is that Mercury, the planet, rules Gemini and Virgo.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So, some planets rule one sign, some rule two.
Gotcha.
So like dual planets, single planets. This is a dual planet. Okay. Gemini and Virgo make a lot of sense for me.
Tons of sense.
There's like a lot of shit this planet's doing. It's transportation. It's, talking on the phone. It's your
like
toaster.
Virgos are known to be articulate. And
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that makes sense. All right. You can find out if you were born during a retrograde.
You can.
Yes. I actually
I
sent you a quiz to find it out. Okay. Now, what you can do if you have your chart, most of them, if a certain planet is retrograding, it says RX next to it, so you can look.
Right.
But not all charts do that, so you can also find like a quiz. Like you can just like plug it in, which is what I sent you. Like plug this in and see if you were born during a retrograde. Yeah. So I was not born during a Mercury retrograde. Were you?
I wish you could have seen me while I was taking this quiz. I was literally like talking out loud in my car. Like,
oh my gosh.
Do not let me.
You didn't want to be.
I've been born under goddamn...
like as if you could switch it and that would make your life easier?
Yeah. I was.
You were born during a retrograde?
Of course I was.
I had a feeling.
Mercury retrograde kicks my ass.
Yeah.
Okay. But you would think it wouldn't, though.
Well, no. I know what you're saying, but so wherever you are born... like in a planet that's retrograding when you're born, what most astrologers say is that that's an indication that that's a place where you'll have a lot of lessons.
Yep.
But it's also not necessarily that you'll struggle.
Right.
You're a fantastic communicator.
I am.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But there's a lot of lessons packed into communicating for you, and when you communicate and how you communicate and how it feels when you communicate.
Right. And for me, the lesson is in the obstacle. Like, how do I react to the obstacle? How do I overcome the obstacle? It's like that, like the reaction is my lesson. And so Mercury's always just like, dropping bombs.
It's really a fun time.
Even this last one we just came out of, so many things had happened. And then I sat down and I turned the TV on, and it was like that thing where the screen is like all wobbly and wonky. And I was like,
of course.
You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Did it fix itself?
And I was like, I'm not even touching this TV.
Smart.
It's Mercury.
Yeah.
I'm not touching it. Like, I'm not going to look at it. I don't care. And then Mercury was about to be over, and I looked, and literally it was half unplugged. Like the USB that goes, like that goes into the side of the TV was half unplugged from the side of the TV, and I just went like, doop. And it fixed itself.
But look how smart! Look how smart you were not to like flip out and try to fix the TV
or
while
buy
it's still retrograding.
Or
yes. You're like, we're going to give this a few days till Mercury's direct and we'll deal with it then. So smart.
It was such a simple solution, but imagine if I had like bought a new TV and then I was like, oh, could have just fixed this cord a little bit.
But that's the most Mercury retrograde shit I've ever heard, where it's like something happens and you immediately escalate it to a 10 when it's probably a 2.
Right.
And then you do this big thing and then it was just this little issue. Yeah. You're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always drop my phone a million times during Mercury retrograde.
Same.
I know there's symbolism there. Mm-hmm. I know it's probably be on it less. I'm not interested in that at the moment. I got the message. We'll work on it later.
Noted,
universe. We'll get to that.
Right.
But yeah, it's always an interesting thing. But specifically if you were born during a retrograde,
yes,
it means that the struggles in that area or the lessons in that area are with yourself.
Yes.
So it's not like, it doesn't mean like I was born with Mercury direct and I have plenty of issues with communication, but they tend to be outward.
Right. How
I communicate with others. For people born.
Right.
See, I couldn't communicate. For people born during a retrograde, the issues with communication tend to be with themselves. Like, how do I get this thing out of me to everybody else?
Yeah, that tracks.
Well, I was going to say, without getting into detail, that describes you as a person.
Exactly.
Or that element of you.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. I read a lot too, interesting articles about Mercury's effect on our sensory system.
Okay.
And how we process information.
Okay.
So I think, well, first of all, I remember you telling me that I had sensory issues and me going like, no, I don't. It's just like at some point in the day when people breathe or chew or something's touching me, I feel like I might die, or like a sound. And you were like, okay, well, that's what we call sensory issues.
Right, that's sensory overload.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you look at Mercury in my chart and you read about, like, again, Taurus, I have a lot of Taurus in my chart, you can sort of go like, oh, I see where that would go, but I also see exactly what you should do, which interestingly enough, you told me to do one of the suggested things for Taurians.
What?
I was telling you that I was getting sensory overload from wearing glasses.
Oh, the ice.
Yeah. No, you told me to go pull weeds.
Oh yeah, I did say that.
Which it's like you need to go ground your energy and touch the earth.
Thing to tell someone to do, but
you need to go weed.
I was like, just go outside and like do some. How you say it out loud? It sounds weird.
But... No, but it wasn't. What did your friend say when you told her you were experiencing sensory overload? She told you to go weed.
Go do some weeding.
But
that's what I would do.
But this is also an example of your claircognizance. You didn't go through the process of being like,
what is
her Mercury's in Taurus.
Heather needs this.
So she needs to go touch plants in the earth. You know what I mean? When she's having sensory overload. But that's actually exactly what I need to do.
Yeah.
So I just think that's really interesting because when I'm in sensory overload, I'm not going, you know what I want to do.
No, exactly, because your system's dysregulated.
It's all junk.
Right.
But if I just know, let me go do something outside, let me go pull some weeds, then that's incredibly, incredibly helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah. So knowing that in yourself, also helpful. But here's the thing. We need more articles about this. We need more people talking about this. We need more people studying like think of all the neurodiversity things that have to do with processing information. And think of I volunteer as tribute. I'll study me.
Right.
Like, what's the connection here with my chart and the position of things?
Right.
And how I process information.
Exactly.
What is it with how you do? What do we have in common? What's different? Like, could we get a group of us together and go like, oh, I have this in my chart, I have that in my chart.
Right.
Like, we would see stuff.
Yes.
And it would solve a lot of issues.
Right.
Okay.
And before people get mad, we're not saying like, oh, read your natal chart and it will like cure whatever like neurodiversity you have.
I don't want to cure it.
No.
I want people to understand it.
Right. But this is going to add a layer of like understanding to what's happening in people's bodies and their lives.
Yeah. We're harping on people receiving information through a Mercury talk, which is awesome. It's like a extra layer of amazingness.
That's true.
But that is everything. Yeah. You know, especially when if you have a kid that's neurodiverse or whatever, and you're just trying to figure out how to help them, literally anything, you'll grab anything. Even if maybe you think astrology is silly, which you're wrong, but fine. I bet you if I handed you a natal chart and said, try this, you'd probably go, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd do anything. Yeah. All right. I have a few interesting astrology facts about Mercury.
Okay.
Here's what I want to do with this. I want to float them out and have you decide how to interpret it for yourself.
Okay.
Not just you personally, Jamie, but all the listeners.
Okay.
Because I read these and immediately started interpreting and understanding some more information about how Mercury works in astrology. Okay. Astronomy and astrology, again, were the same. And the splitting of it has caused some problems, in my opinion, because astrologists are kind of stuck on this side and they're not grabbing the astronomy information, and vice versa. But just like your physical body is like reflecting and doing things that your intuition and your mind are going through, the physical planet and the energy coming off of it are very connected.
Yeah. And I think we should also say that this like astrology and astronomy beef is one-sided. Yes. Like it's not like astrologists are like, did you hear what that astronomer said about Uranus? like they would never. No. They take that information and apply it to their own practice. It's only astronomers that don't that you know, judge.
Right. It's more that astrologists don't have access to a lot of the information. Right. It's not like they're just like, don't even bother telling me about the atmosphere on that planet. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I just grabbed a couple of facts for you. So Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. And it's also technically right now the smallest. If you consider Pluto a planet, it just depends. I mean, I grew up being told Pluto was a planet.
I did too.
I mean, Pluto was shoved down my throat my whole life. So now you're telling me I can't be a planet.
Right, and then it wasn't.
Okay, so do what you want with that. Okay, closest to the sun, but one of the smallest. Okay. And it orbits between the sun and the earth. Okay. So I'd just like to remind everyone that the sun is ego.
I was just going to say, so we're communicating most closely to ego.
Yes. Right. Thank you. Okay. It is a cold planet, even though it's the closest to the sun.
Interesting.
Because there's no atmosphere or very little atmosphere to trap heat.
Oh, okay.
So the closest planet in our galaxy to the sun is one of the coldest.
That's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
There's there's stuff there, is what I'm saying. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Also, this planet is a mystery, shocker, to astronomers.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to know the mystery that they can't figure out? It appears to be too small to host a magnetic field, but it has one, and scientists can't understand how.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, do with that information what you want to do with that information. I don't want to solve it for you, but I'm going like, communication, how we communicate. We switched it to, you know, the god of war from the god of wisdom. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just a lot of information and interesting, like, little pieces that I think you could interpret.
Be interpreted, right?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. To interpret that. All right. I want to talk about this in our charts.
Okay.
I already mentioned that I'm a Taurus. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this and you can tell me what you think. Okay. If it's accurate. Okay. Being born with Mercury in Taurus gives you a solid way of thinking and interacting that makes you especially practical and reliable. You aren't one to jump to conclusions, or jump to anything for that matter. Do we think that's my pause?
Yes.
Okay. You have a calm and deliberate manner when you communicate.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. You get straight to the point and convey your thoughts with intention, making it easy for others to understand what you're saying.
Yes.
Clear and productive conversations are your specialty.
Yes. Yes.
It is in my 10th house, and the interpretation there is you are good with language and generally use this talent in your profession. Hello, welcome to the podcast.
Nailed it. So you said astrology was fake?
Yeah.
What? Like, how could you ever dispute that? If you know Heather, how could you ever?
I mean, I think you would know me well enough just listening to this episode to go, like, that all sounds pretty right on. Yeah, okay. All right, so Jamie, your Mercury is in Leo. So Mercury and Leo are adept at seeing the big picture, sometimes at the cost of ignoring the details.
No.
I think that's just ADHD.
That's the ADHD.
Yeah, okay. They are generally skilled at the art of persuasion. Yes.
Think.
Yeah, that's you, like, bringing people from one side to the other. That's you're so good at that. Yeah, like, welcome to astrology. Like, let me talk you into liking it. That's you. While others may try to win people over with logic, guilt, or wit, Mercury in Leo does it with warmth and goodwill. Yes. They are excellent at promoting ideas and getting their messages across.
That's true.
Yes. These people can be very attached to their opinions, taking pride in their beliefs, which are often rather idealistic.
Yes.
They are capable people on an intellectual level and have an especial desire for self-expression. Depending on the confidence level of the whole individual with the displacement of Mercury, a stubbornness in the face of criticism or oversensitivity to anything less than praise is present.
No.
Hello, Jamie.
Yes.
So you have Mercury in your 9th house, and that is you crave intellectual stimulation. You're very smart, eternal mental wanderers of many subjects.
Yep.
That's you.
That's it.
How do you say it's not real?
Right.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
I know.
And you couldn't also just say, like, oh, anyone could listen and, like, adapt that to themselves. Like, you would never read that about yourself and be like, yeah, that's me.
None of that would be right for me.
Right.
Yeah. It's amazing. And all of it. But it's also not just like, oh, right on the surface. Like, there's a few little deep. One of them's a little bit of a jab, but they're, like, very on point.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you add that you were born when Mercury was retrograde, not direct.
Right.
You're reading this, like, you're hearing, in mine, you're not hearing as many challenges, but in yours, you're hearing more. Like, amazing.
Right. Exactly.
Amazing.
Love
All right. I think we should take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we're going to come back and talk about Venus.
Sweet. Okay, Heather. This week, I don't know what we're talking about. I mean, I do. Speaking of Mercury.
Yeah.
Retrograde.
What are we not sure we're talking about?
It's this thing. I don't know how to frame it or title it, but for me, I feel like it's sort of one of these things that we always bring up as like the empath's curse or like the intuitive's curse. And it's just something that I've been seeing, and I'm trying to like think of how to frame it. I don't think this person that I'm talking about is not someone that I've ever met in real life. Ooh, they're also, I don't think someone who's ever listened to this episode.
Okay.
But I don't want to like shit talk anybody. Okay. But I just think our listeners have seen this a million times, and it's painful as an intuitive. Yeah. I see someone on social media. Yeah. Who I follow, they follow me back. Okay. I like them from what I know of them. Yeah. And I can just see them struggling so badly. Like, so this person is like an overworker, like always talking about how busy they are. Yes. Too many meetings. Yes. Too much time, juggling parenthood and the work-life balance. Yes. And it's almost like watching a train wreck. Like a really slow train wreck. Yeah. Right. And like, I don't know how to be like, hey, there's something about you that's attached to being the victim.
Yeah.
There's something about you that is receiving validation from being overworked. Mm-hmm. So I'm watching it. And I'm like, I don't know how, you can't just insert yourself. This is like your grocery store story. Like when you're in it, like when you're a medium and you like see someone's dead uncle. Yeah. You can't just go up to him and be like, hey,
your dead uncle's here. Yeah.
He says, what's up?
Like, people don't like that.
No, it can go listen to other episodes about that. It's like ethically problematic.
And just not a good idea.
Don't do it.
No.
So for me, I feel the same way. Like I can't be like, hey, and then I'm watching it and I'm watching it and I'm watching it. And then all of a sudden they're having all these physical problems that they're talking about. Yeah. And then they're in the emergency room. And then they're getting diagnosed with this like
mystery illness. Fibromyalgia or something. And
you know, this one that this person has has a name, but it's this like immunocompromised, like autoimmune issue. Like
yes.
Now they're grappling with like the problem of being like, I'm so busy, I don't have the time to be chronically ill. And I'm like, oh, I just
it's like,
put me in, could help you.
Yeah.
I wish I could help you so badly. Do I wish I could just be like, hey, and you can't.
No.
There's no way that I could message this person.
Yes.
And we've had some interactions online. It's not like I would just be like cold calling them.
I'd like to speak to you about my MLM.
Hey, girl. It's not like that, but it's just such a hard position for people like us and our listeners that want to help, that can see the issue.
Yeah.
And you gotta shut your mouth.
You gotta be asked.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how bold you want to be.
Yes.
But like, what the first thing I would do, and I bet you've already done this, is just like energetically put out the call. Like,
yes, I have done that.
Like, I want to be asked about this.
Yes.
Like, come ask me.
The door is open.
Yeah, to all the people. Bring them to me. Right. I would like to help them.
Right.
Right. The other thing you can do is just to reach out. Like, hey, I see you're struggling. I just wanted you to know, like, that's really rough, and I'm thinking about you. To see if they then give you more information and enter into a conversation, and like, you can find the little ask, even if it's not fully like, Jamie, tell me what's going on. You know, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can do those things. Yeah. But it's hard to not come off like you think you know better than them, or like you're judging them.
I was just going to say, it feels so judgmental, even if I used my nicest words, my best communicating skills.
You read that Mercury was in Leo and you used that information to talk to them.
Right. Yeah. But it would be like, I'm watching you from afar and I see this problem. Yeah. You can't fix it and I can. Right. And I'm not even saying I can fix their issues.
I could help.
I could help.
Yeah. And also, it's not just like, I'm seeing this from afar and I can help and I've like never been there myself. I've always done it perfect. It's actually the opposite. No, it's because you're like, I'm actually incredibly triggered by it.
Right.
Because I was there.
Yeah.
I could have, if I didn't get the information I got when I got it, I could have still been there. I could have been you.
Right.
So you just want to help, but it's a hard call, because if you try to help somebody when they're not open to the help, you will hurt them a lot of the times.
Yes.
It's the same reason you don't go up to people in the grocery store. It's the same reason I don't just blurt out all the things that come into my head when someone's talking. Created, right. Yeah. Like I've learned this the hard way. It's not judgmental, but it's like people actually need to energetically come to you. Like there needs to be like an energetic contract form somehow.
Even if you're sitting listening to this, because this used to be me, that if you were saying that to me, I would be in my head thinking, no, but I really want to know. I really want you to tell me.
Right.
But that's not actually how it works. You have to be ready. You have to be ready to hear the information. You also have to be in a place in your life where you're ready to hear the information.
Yeah.
And like capable enough to have that information.
Yes.
Right?
And you also have to be careful, if you're the one saying it, what you say.
Yeah.
Like, for example, how many times when I was doing sessions would somebody be like, I need you to tell me if I should leave my partner?
Well, like you say, you just said the answer.
I can't. Well, yes, I know that you should by the way you have framed the question.
Right.
But
No, because it'll be forever that Heather told me to.
And it's not just that it'll be like I could be a bad guy in the story. Trust me, I made that mistake and had someone come after the partner that was left come after me and threaten me. Like I'm not saying it from a place of I'm wise and you're stupid, everybody. I'm saying it from a place of like I made all the mistakes. Let me help you not.
Yes.
But like, so that can happen, yes. But also, you rob somebody of knowing they made the decision themselves.
Yes.
And that's what a lot of intuitive people do. I know I'm taking like a little bit of a left turn from what you were talking about.
No,
but they rob people of seeing the thing so that they can look like they know all the stuff.
Yeah, the person has to have that moment of epiphany.
Yes.
Themselves, or it doesn't stick.
Yes. So it's very important that you're so careful with how you give people any sort of intuitive help, any sort of emotional, mental, physical, even guidance, because you could do it in a way that robs them of the ability to heal fully. Right.
And this person that I've been observing, even if I could say to them, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Like you need a lot of energy work. You need a lot of this and that. This person's like, I mean, I think they're very intuitive, but they're also like a muggle, like a straight up muggle.
Right.
So you want me to be like, oh, do Reiki and do acupuncture and try this technique and that. Like, then you're just piling more information on them about something that they're not, they haven't even dipped their toes in the water.
No, they haven't opened up to that stuff yet.
Yeah, so you're just overwhelming them.
And then they might not go, like Reiki is something that is so helpful for everybody.
Right.
And if they heard it in that moment, they might never try it because they might be put off by it.
Exactly.
And then now this thing that could help them, you just compromised. Yeah. So it's really, really tricky.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to care so much about everybody else.
Right. Exactly.
It's exhausting. Literally.
I mean, this person is like a step above being a stranger to me.
Right.
And I'm like, oh God, I just want to help them.
Yeah. Well, we'll put it out there right now that this person who Jamie follows and you follow her back should contact Jamie because she would like to be your friend and support you through your journey. Yeah. So let's see. Maybe you can just report back if we hear anything. But I think it's a great point because it's such a struggle. And, you know, it can even be with someone you know really well.
Right.
You have to be careful how you frame stuff.
Yeah.
You know, even just that question in any kind of relationship where when someone's talking to you where you're like, are you looking to just be heard or are you looking for a solution?
Yes.
Ask that. You don't have to use those words.
Right.
But like, look, see what happens.
Yeah.
Agreed. Do a little of both and see what they lean towards. Like, make sure that you're giving in a way that is actually for the other person and not because you need to give.
Exactly. Not because you have to fix something.
Yes.
Right. Agreed.
And if you're also observing people on social media, hoping that they give you a call, we see you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's talk about Venus.
Yes.
Okay. Venus is one of my favorite astrological aspects to look at.
Interesting.
Because it is the first planet from Earth. Like it's the next one, right? We got Mercury on one side and we got Venus on the other.
Yeah.
And it is intuition.
Right.
But it's like this, it's like intuition in a basic version, but like not in a bad way.
Is that why we think of it as like the planet of love?
Yes.
Because love is intuition or emotion is intuition?
Yes. Huh. Okay. Here's what this planet represents before I go on and on about my love for the planet Venus. It represents your values, how you express love, how you receive love, your idealized version of receiving love, sharing with others, all energetic exchanges with people.
It's a lot.
Yeah. The arts, beauty, passion, desire, how you relate to and experience pleasure, money, and your relationship to it.
Oh, that's intuition.
Yeah. So if I was to pick one word to represent Venus, believe it or not, it's not desire.
Right.
It's actually the word pleasure.
Yeah.
And this word has been one of those kidnapped words that's been so sexualized. And listen, sex and pleasure are all wonderful things. I'm not demonizing them. Like, yay, that. But it's also sitting on your couch and turning on Netflix and eating a piece of chocolate.
100%.
It's also
100%.
the first sip of coffee when it's at that exact right temperature.
Yeah.
It's also when you change out of your hard pants into your soft pants.
Yeah. If you ever get into the hard pants in the first place.
That's true. It's taking your bra off for me. I know that that's not a great moment for you. But for me, that's like, yes. Okay, like it's...
Yes.
It's that moment when you see a friend that you wanted to see, like that second you see them. It's like these, again, I know it's like I'm saying it's basic, but I mean it in a good way.
Yeah, no, because I'm giggling because it really has been stolen. Because like all I can think about, like even when you read it the first time, I was like, someone's going to hear Heather say pleasure.
Yeah.
You think about like pleasuring yourself.
Yeah.
Which is also fine.
Yes, and it is that. Good. Great. Awesome. Go for it. Do it right now while you're listening. I don't care. But it's just...
Oh my God.
It's just... It's that, yes, but it's so many other things.
Right. No, and we are for all types of pleasure.
Yes.
I hate the fact that that's all a lot of people think of when they hear pleasure, is this like sexualized version. Because...
you're not thinking about all the moments that you can create in your day that involve pleasure. Like you're again, desire, another kidnapped word. Like you hear desire and you hear pleasure and you immediately start to feel guilty or shame or bad because those are like private things.
Right. But when you're actually experiencing pleasure, you're tapped into your intuition. So you're powerful and they don't want that.
No. And like, think of the power of like a moment that you experience pleasure and how connected you feel in your body and your mind and your spirit, your intuition, like all of that feels so balanced in that second.
And think about how high vibe you are in that moment.
I can't believe you just said that.
Like how your frequency rises.
Yes.
Like even like I just had this visual of like me.
I can't wait for the visual.
Going to like our favorite ice cream place. And like for the first time in the season, like the kids and I will go to Dairy Twist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have that moment where you're like, oh yeah.
Dairy Twist, if you'd like to sponsor us.
But like that actually raises your frequency, as corny as that sounds. Like
it's not
you actually feel like really happy. And it might just be a small burst of it, but that's where the power is.
This thing that you just said about it being corny is why I'm always telling people, like, I am the corniest person ever. Like, I might not outwardly say it, but there are times, like, I'm getting, like, I can see tears in my eyeballs thinking about
I love it.
I'm getting so excited. You're because these are the parts of your life that you've been robbed from because you've been taught that they're silly and they're invaluable because they're not productive for anybody except you.
Or you feel them and you shut it down.
Oh gosh.
You're like, oh my God, I love this ice cream, but that's stupid. So, and then you
like retract. Someone shamed you at some point but like when you're a little kid, like that's your whole life.
Yes.
Like you're just like one pleasurable experience to the other. And then like it's not pleasurable and you're just on a mission to go back to pleasurable.
Yes.
And like we need to bring it back.
Yes.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Because it's so layered because that's where the fun is, but that's also where the power is.
Yes.
Like if you have people who are just like closed off and miserable and just like slugging through their life to get to the next paycheck, which believe me, we have to do that. I'm not judging you if that's what you're doing. That's what we have to do.
That's the setup.
To exist in this system. Yes. I get it. But like if you have people who are just like these like robot rats, like going through the drudgery of every day, then you get someone who's really low vibe, who's not paying attention. You know what I mean? Like you don't have these moments.
You then convert them into your MAGA cult.
Exactly.
I know that's oddly specific, but like that's literally what's going on.
Yes, that's actually what's happening.
That's how you control people with fear is you rob them of pleasure.
Right.
Like it's that simple.
And
then
and then the only pleasure you get is by like harming other people.
Yes.
Or like making fun of other people or teasing other people, feeling that superiority.
Right.
we're all just built to be having these like ice cream moments.
Yes. Yes. It's like when people get like, oh, someone will be like, oh, tell me something that, you enjoy doing. And they get like really embarrassed because they don't have like this really cool hobby.
Right.
And,
that's me.
Right. Okay. But like, I can say like sitting on my deck in the afternoon when the sun's in a certain spot, and maybe I have coffee, maybe I have a cocktail, it depends on the time of day, and I have a snack, something salty, and I'm just sitting there listening to birds.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Going out to dinner with people, having yummy food.
Yeah.
Reading a book. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, those are the little things that like make up who you are.
Yeah.
And having really cool hobbies is awesome, and you should if those bring you joy. But like, we get really stuck in like those answers having to be like something that they don't need to be.
Right, exactly.
So anyways, it's just like, it's so many little things, and I get so fired up because even when you know me, like I'm a question asker of all of the people.
Right.
Like when I'm asking people questions about themselves and they're talking, like I see that little shame when they start to talk about things they like.
Right.
I see that little like worry that you're going to be judged. And I'm just thinking like, no, those are all the best parts of you. Those are those moments that you experience, the ice cream, the like, I don't know. I'm thinking about like in the summer when you go get your Italian sub somewhere and then you sit on the beach and eat it. And it's just like the best thing ever.
Right.
That is life. Like, remember for that like minute during the pandemic, and I'm not trying to glamorize the pandemic. It was awful.
No.
But when you were quarantined and you were just like existing in comfy clothes and like taking care of plants, and you're like, this is actually, I think, how I'm supposed to live all the time. And like, listen, work can be a source of pleasure.
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean? But like, we've robbed pleasure of so many places, and we've made it something so shameful that it's no good.
I just want to bring to your attention just one part of this, of like how the con is played, is that these moments are trivialized.
Yes.
Right. So everything that like, I don't have enough hobbies, they're not cool enough, I'm not like windsurfing every day, like whatever.
Wait a minute. I would love to go windsurfing with you.
Oh, you wouldn't?
I would. Even though you would hate it.
I wouldn't like to go windsurfing with myself.
I know you wouldn't. Okay. Anyways, just the fact that you picked that of all the things.
It just sounds like something cool you'd say to someone. Like, whatever. My point is that those things are trivialized.
Yeah.
But they actually, I know what I'm stating the obvious, but they are trivialized. But they actually bring us the most joy.
Yes.
So that when you're self-deprecating, or like sort of diminishing your own interests, you're not just like, oh, I just like to read, or I just like to go grab an ice cream. Like, to you it feels like, oh, it's not a big deal, but it's actually like this,
it's
super
everything,
easily accessible point of joy that you're closing yourself off of. That's the con,
right? Because we make pleasure this thing that like it has to be like, the best thing that has ever happened to you, and you only feel good things when it's happening, and it lasts for a month or something. Like, and that's not what pleasure is. Pleasure is actually in all of those little moments.
Right.
And they like, yes, you can pack them together, but pleasure isn't really, the energy of pleasure is not this like long lasting thing. The same as like happiness, right? It's like when you ask someone if they're happy, it's like,
no,
not all the time.
Exactly. Right.
I can be.
When people say,
happiness
like, are you happy? They
mean
like, are you happy with your whole entire life?
They mean, are you satisfied?
Right. It's the wrong question.
Yeah, and if you're someone like me, you're going to sing the Hamilton song. You're like, I will never be satisfied. My whole personality is that I can't ever be satisfied with anything. Never.
This is the second episode in a row where we've referenced Hamilton.
Maybe we should watch it. Maybe we should do like a deep dive on Hamilton for an episode. Okay, anyways. But it's just the fact that we don't know our Venus. I did not know my Venus off the top of my head. I mean, I've looked at it before.
Yeah, I don't know that
yeah, so, okay.
Cancer, it might be.
So, well, we'll get to it. So, Venus, the planet, is named after the Roman goddess of love.
Right. Okay.
Now, the Babylonians, back in the day, used to call it Ninciana.
Okay.
Which was for the like star of Ishtar, same sort of goddess, which is also the goddess of love. So Mercury got like a rebrand, but
yes.
I would say Venus stayed pretty along the same veins here. Yeah. It rules Libra and Taurus. Again, that makes sense in my head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So some astrologers have studied this, and this one thing that I'm going to tell you about, and some of them like really don't like it. But I'm going to tell you because I like it, but I get the other side. So stick with me here. But astrologers have been looking at how men relate to their Venus, because most men, whatever their Venus qualities are rejecting their Venus, because this is very feminine and this is intuition. So
gotcha.
In a patriarchal society, we teach men to reject all those kind of things about themselves.
Yeah.
But what they're seeing is men who are in a heterosexual relationship with a woman are projecting all of the Venus aspects that they're not experiencing onto the woman.
So they choose someone who has those aspects?
And then the things that they aren't, like if they aren't in line with them, they're not acting them out. They have an issue.
Okay.
So it's like their need to express it, they're projecting it to the woman to express it.
The wife has to fulfill it for them.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Interesting.
So the part that other astrologers don't like about this is that they say actually all genders are doing this. This doesn't have to do with gender. This has to do with just living in a society that tells you that like anything feminine is bad.
Wrong, right?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
One thing that is suggested if you are in a relationship, no matter if it's with a man or a woman, or if you are a man or a woman, is looking at your Venus and how you might be projecting and like needing your partner to bring some of those traits that you are having trouble sitting with to the light.
Yeah, and look at your partner's Venus and see why they might be frustrated with you.
Exactly. Because it's going to show you the like kind of it's basically a form of shadow work, right? Because it's this like unrealized thing that you're like, you're kind of projecting an expectation onto your partner to do something that they don't really understand or to be something.
Yeah, they didn't ask.
Right.
Right.
Now, also on a more just basic level, knowing your partner's Venus will tell you exactly how they want to be loved. Like,
yes.
I mean, we talked about the love languages. But like basically, if you just read your Venus, you'll kind of get your love language anyways. But
see that episode.
That's exactly. But I just thought that was super interesting. There was a lot of different articles, a lot of people being like, you're getting it wrong. But I do sort of understand that like men in our society are very much taught that anything of their feminine qualities are something that should be squashed. So I do get that.
Yeah.
But I also think it's valuable information either way.
I agree.
Okay, so my weird facts that you can interpret how you want about Venus. Okay, so it has the longest rotation of any planet in the solar system. So a day on Venus is longer than a year on Earth.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So do that. Do with that what you will. So time moves slower. Interesting.
Love.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's hotter than Mercury, even though it's on the other side of the Earth to the sun.
Wow. Fired up.
I'm just thinking how like, Mercury lacks an atmosphere to hold in the sun's heat, even though it's right next to it. It can't retain it.
Venus can hold it.
Venus can hold it. So it's not even like we're closer on Earth.
Right.
But it's, I don't know, just find it interesting. Okay. This is my favorite part. Venus is the only planet to spin clockwise on its axis.
Oh, really?
Scientists believe that Venus collided with another celestial body at some point in history, and it knocked it upside down and caused it to spin clockwise.
Really?
So at one point, Venus was upright and spinning counterclockwise with the rest of us.
An intuition.
Something smashed some mystery celestial body, smashed into it, knocked it upside down, and now it spins clockwise.
Right.
So it spins in the opposite way of all of the other planets. So all of the other energy you get comes in differently than how you get Venus's energy.
And now we're upside down in our intuition. Yeah.
Or we're trying to make intuition come in like logic comes in.
Yeah.
But it comes in upside down.
A different way. Right.
Just
wow.
Okay. It's also the second brightest in the night sky after the moon.
Oh, that makes sense.
Those are my fun facts.
The moon and Venus. Yeah, I love
Oh, the two bright ones.
Yeah.
The two intuitive
Right.
bodies. Huh.
Two
Huh.
love.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Mine, Venus is in Gemini.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I won't stand for any Gemini slander here.
Oh, no. We love Gemini.
Or two-faced.
Oh, no.
No.
I can be two-faced, but you're going to see both of them.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not doing it behind
I'm not hiding
back.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So Gemini and Venus values excitement, open-mindedness, and curiosity. They win over people with witty conversation and fun.
Huh.
Often seen as a tease.
Huh.
That's unfortunately true. But I thought that was just because my brand of masking comes off flirtatious.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I know.
Is that because of the patriarchy?
I don't know why. I think.
Did you feel like you had to be flirtatious to
No, because I'm not trying to be flirtatious.
Okay.
It's just being interpreted as flirtatious. Okay. But it's also, there's this thing, I know this is a side tangent. There's this thing apparently with humans where like with a man, if you ask him a lot of questions about himself, that they think you're flirting.
Interested. Yes, because it's interest.
Yeah.
And you're just like
Sherlock. And I'm just like
Sherlocking him.
Wonder why you're doing that. Yeah. And they're just like, this girl really likes me.
She's really into me.
She's so into me.
Sorry, buddy.
Or I'll be like, there'll be a male gender in front of me, and I'll be like trying to figure out their Claire, so I'll do like a touch to see if that's theirs.
Too far.
And I'm like, what?
No, yeah.
If you do it to a girl, they don't.
No, they
happen.
don't. Exactly.
Yeah. So some of these rules are hard for me.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying. But
I'll get you there.
Also, it's in my it's in my chart,
right?
That I'm seen as a tease. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I don't mind it. Okay. Changeable and sometimes fickle.
Oh.
That tracks. Relationships to both people and possessions are electric and focused on mental stimulation.
Yes, definitely.
So Gemini's in my 11th house, or Venus is in my 11th house, sorry. Magnet for new friends, but also drama. It's not my fault.
It's true.
Drama loves me.
Yes, it really does.
Yeah.
You hate the drama.
I don't enjoy the drama. I mean, I enjoy the drama if it's distant.
Yeah.
Like if I can watch it on TV or like with other people, I like the drama.
No, but when
if you want to tell me about drama, yes. But when the drama is centered around me,
right?
Not a fan.
No,
thank you. Okay. Tends to focus on people's unique qualities as their most attractive.
Yes, definitely.
I feel like that's just my whole shtick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you are a Venus in Cancer, Jay.
I know it. Yeah.
I know. A lot of Cancer in your chart. Yeah. Okay. Highly intuitive with instinctual ability to pick up on what other people need and support and care for them accordingly. That makes me think of how you are like such an expert in like emotional management of others.
Yes.
And the reason that you're so good at it is not because it took you a while to figure it out. It's like upon meeting them, you already know.
Yes.
You already got there.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Appears to have a thick outer shell at first to protect their extreme sensitivity to others. I feel like that's a theme about me reading in your chart. Very sensitive to other people.
Every single point in my natal chart.
Rejection sensitivity comes up a lot for you.
Big problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Constant balancing act to care for others' needs and your own.
True.
Mm-hmm. Nurturing and likes to be nurtured.
Yes. Too
much attachment to past can prevent them from enjoying present moments.
Sigh. Yeah.
It's in your 9th house again. So the very first sentence of like everything about Venus in your 9th house is tremendous wealth. Every time. Every single one I read was tremendous wealth. Tremendous wealth.
Bring it, bitch.
I know. So, I mean, really, you should just get it because you're doing something wrong, Jamie. It literally said in every single one. I mean, the word tremendous was different. Like, it was like extreme. It was, like incredible wealth. Yeah. Wealth. I picked tremendous. I liked it the best.
I like it too.
So just fucking get in line with it, Jay.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay. Signifies pleasure and happiness connected to wealth.
Yes.
Needs to feel passion for work.
Yes.
Has to feel intellectual connections.
True. That's true.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Again,
nailed it.
Tell me it's not
No,
real.
I know.
Tell
You
me.
can't.
Tell me.
You can't.
I would just also like to say that I picked the ones that I read. I gathered from a few different sources, but I read a few and picked the ones that reflected us best. So when you're reading your chart or you're reading something and you're like, this doesn't hit for me, go find another one, because all it is different people's interpretations of it.
Right.
So find the one that works. And I know that makes it sound like I'm saying, well, just find the one that fits
like
and wear it so it's real.
Right.
But I don't mean it that way. Like, there wasn't any that I read that weren't true.
Way off.
No, of course not. But like, I wanted to find the ones where I was like, this really reflects the character. Like, this is talking about more than just surfacey stuff. This is stuff underneath.
Well, we've said this in many episodes when it comes to astrology, but like, it's clearly an interpretation. The reason why people judge it is because it's not like a quote unquote exact science. So it's going to be open for interpretation based on the reader. So we're always saying, like, find an astrologer that you like, find a website that you trust, find an app that you trust. Like, that's what we've done. Like, we follow certain people on Instagram that we connect with their presentation of the information. It's all the same information. It's just like, how is the person explaining it? Yes.
And, you know, a lot of, you see this gap with astrologers. And I think it's honestly like like the indigo gap. Like you can see that stuff. Where it's like the first wave of indigos. We have an episode on indigos, crystals, and rainbows too, if you'd like to listen to that. But the first wave of indigo's version of astrology was very different than the second wave. Like the newer, the younger people, and some of them I think are probably crystals too, but like the way that they present it is very different.
Yeah, and I think it's actually a little bit more scientific.
Definitely, you know what I mean? Scientific. It's very much less woo-woo and more, here's how it works in your life. Right. You know, like, here's how you can actually apply it. But the thing is with this, like, even like looking at your Venus and understanding about this about yourself and thinking like, what have I like really accepted here? And what do I maybe project and need from other people? Right. Just doing that is going to improve your relationship with yourself and with, if you're in a romantic relationship, if you're in a friendship, all of that, your children, it's going to immediately improve, because you can read this and you can go, where might that be coming? Like the part for me where it said fickle. Yeah. I mean, I would just add the word moody as well. Like, yes. And like, if I could just like show other people, like I'm fickle, like,
don't take this personally.
No, catch me tomorrow. Right. It'll be different.
Right.
You know, like, and like accept that instead of feel a lot of shame about myself. It's like, it's literally written on my personal sky map. The stars decided it.
Right. Exactly.
It's just who I am. And I know it about myself. So I'll be a little bit better about like not making that other people's problems. Right. But if today I just feel like a miserable wench who hates everybody, I'm just going to let that be. I'll keep to myself, because tomorrow I'll like people again. Exactly. And it's fine. And like little stuff like that, just that acceptance is so important.
Go do some weeding. You'll feel better.
If you're feeling overload.
Ice pack on the neck. Go do some weeding.
Yeah. I mean, I followed your instructions. It did help. Great. Okay. So anyways, let us know what you think. Let us know if you found a great resource for yours. Let us know if this helps you or what areas this hit you. And if you like really thought about the little things I told you about the planets that I think really speak to how we interpret the energy of them here on Earth, tell us about that too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.